Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Jay. I have been in wildland fire since 2011 and I'm partner to a Hotshot. I want to create a space that's comfortable for partners, parents, and companions to appreciate the world their loved ones live in. I want to support those who support our heroes. In these videos, I share tips and information to help family and friends understand the world of wildland fire and support their firefighters. So, here we go.
I'm so pumped. I'm over the moon.
Today, Brett and I are hanging with Nick Boling, recipient of a digital storytelling micro grant from the Smokey generation. His project, One Foot in the Black, follows his Hotshot crew and sheds light on the feelings and experiences of the folks on it. But before that, we're going to meet for a friendly competition, a taco tourney, if you will.
Man, the pork belly. That is the fried avocado. This is the carne asada. That's the pork belly.
Holy moly, you got some stuffed ones.
Dude, hell yeah.
Stopwatch.
I almost don't want to eat these fast because
I know!
they're like delicious. Let's just do two.
Okay,
Oh
two
man.
the fastest is that.
Yeah.
So I told her the same thing. I was like, we spend all summer just like scarfing down.
Swallowing food.
And
Man, I've been eating food fast for like the past more than a decade.
All right, guys, then we don't have to do the scarfing it down.
I feel like it was a good idea if we're going to Taco Bell. Like we're not buying. These are like $3.50 tacos, and they're actually. Have you guys ever been here before?
One time I was here.
Okay. All right. These are actually bomb, and here's some guacamole. Let's do another cheers. Let's go eat some tacos. We don't need to race and start from back.
So the guys opted out of competing, which is understandable when you think about their eating habits throughout the fire season. Lunches on the fire line are usually short because there's work to be done that is often time sensitive. At fire camp or even spiked out, breakfast is usually eaten quickly so as not to miss briefing for the day, as well as needing to get everything prepped for a day out on the line and away from amenities. Dinners are quick because everyone is exhausted and just wants to bury down into their sleeping bags for the night. So we enjoyed our tasty Mexican treats, sipped margaritas, and got to know Nick a little better. He told us a bit about ranching with his girlfriend Maggie and gifted us a laugh with a particular talent of his.
Yeah.
shipping cattle. You have to like do cattle drive and herd them. And
She operates a cow-calf operation. So she just tries to make as many healthy babies as she possibly can at in the spring. Then by fall, they go off to get shipped. Just a lot of babies. We gotta corral those, which is always fun because they're big at this point and they don't like being told what to do, and they haven't been far away from their mothers ever.
This seat is really comfortable.
So, I hear
What's up, dog?
that
Talk to me.
you have a maybe secret talent of voices.
There's a couple that I can think of. There was just one time where I did a South African accent when I was talking to a girl for 3.5 weeks.
Are you serious?
No shit. It was horrible.
Talk about catfishing.
Oh, no, I've been doing the Arnold voice. I think that started. My dad used to listen to Howard Stern growing up. I think every dad growing up in the 90s, early 2000s listened to Howard Stern. He had George Takei. You know George Takei is. George Takei played Ensign Sulu in Star Trek, the original Star Trek.
Okay.
And George Takei was like very famous in like nerd culture for being like both gay and like a huge character in Star Trek lore. And so he was on Howard Stern, and this was back when like Arnold was the governor of California, and Howard Stern had a guy who called in the show who did the Arnold impression. And he's like, hello, Arnold, or hello, Howard. It's fantastic to get on your show again. And George Takei is on the show as well. He's like, oh, Mr. Governor, I'm not very happy with you, signing the bill that doesn't allow gays to get married. Like, George, shit happens, sorry. And so, like, I think from that point on, I was like, okay, I got to figure out how to, like, do the Arnold voice, because it is so funny. And I think with that came, like, Elmo, and like Australian accents and like Irish accents and South African accents, and the Elmo voice comes out, the Smeagol voice comes out.
I think the Elmo one's my favorite when
Yeah.
he busted out on the line, especially when everyone's like annoyed and frustrated with something, and then Elmo just starts.
You start hearing Elmo screaming obscenities.
There's no way to be in a bad mood.
So your project's title is One Foot in the Black.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
I love that saying. We were in Wyoming on the Pedro Mountain Fire. It was like huge ranch land, like lots of grassland and like pockmarked with like timber stands. And our boss was giving us our like 30-second brief, like safety zone is 1 foot in the black. And he's kind of goes on to explain, if you see the fire coming towards you, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and walk straight towards it, because you're going to walk through the fire, and then behind it is going to be complete black, and that is your safety zone. And it like put me in this perspective of like, okay, that's cool and scary as hell. Like, walk into the fire, and there's where your safety zone is. But also,
Go
like,
into the thing that I want to run a race.
and how many times in life are you like at that transitional point in your life where you're like, I have to like walk into the fire? It juxtaposes so well in life, where you're like in a position or in an experience or in a situation where you're like, I have no idea what I need to do, but I need to somehow carry my safety zone with me throughout all this. Into like this chaotic situation that I find myself in, I've got to find it. And I think it's like one thing that wildland firefighters have.
When I first started this channel,
Yes.
your project was the project that loomed in my mind. I mean, it really was the first thing that I wanted to showcase.
Mm.
And so I wanted to first ask you what made you start this project, and how long have you been working on it?
Mm-hmm. It actually kind of started my rookie year, where the iPhone came out with that portrait mode, where if you get close enough, it kind of like blurs out everything else, and it kind of really focuses in on the face. And I think my rookie year, like, I wrote like just kind of a reflection of the entire season with a collection of all the pictures. And then I took some really good pictures. I started editing them, and I had like in my head already kind of like a reflection about like firefighting, hotshotting especially, like being on a SAL team, or like climbing up a hill, or the people that comprise a hotshot crew. And so I was like, I have a lot to say right now, and I should probably get it down somehow.
Nice.
But like when you're climbing a hill, or you're swamping for like an entire day, or you're cutting through like really shitty terrain, and you've just gotten stung by like 4.5 bees, and like you're climbing through poison oak, and like your boss is yelling at you, and like your life is just been there. You've been there.
Yeah.
You've been there. Like your life is totally miserable. You have to survive somehow. And so like, not all of this is shitty. Well, okay, all of this is shitty, but why is it shitty? And how can I learn from the shittiness?
There has to be a point
Right.
to experience.
There has to be purpose to
toughing
it.
it out.
And like, what am I learning during these points in time where everything is horrible and I have no more energy left? And like, as I started to like embrace it, I was like, all right, there are lessons in here, and like cool stuff happening around me, and like this story should be told.
How do you go about capturing photos on the crew, and how is it received from the crew members?
So like, a lot of people will, if I put a camera in their face, they'll smile or try to like pose, and I'm just like, don't do that. I just want the best pictures that I've had were like I just pulled out my camera and like we were on a hard hike and like people are puking, people are falling out, and I'll just like snap a picture and try to get just whatever was happening in that moment. And then, you know, later that day, I'll take them in at night and I'll kind of just like just figure out what the picture is saying.
It's really great when Boling captures pictures. He comes up to you when you're tired or you're breathing hard or you're just sharpening your tool and zoning. And he goes, don't look at the camera.
I do.
So then you just look sideways like this while it's in your face.
I do. Those are the best pictures, when nobody realizes that you're taking the picture until you send it to them a little bit later. And they're like, man, I look terrible. And you're like, yes, you do. But like that was a moment in your life that you should never, ever, ever forget. And you find yourself, you know, you get to the point where you want to quit or you want to give up, and then you find whatever is necessary in order to sally forth, and like you have no other decision. You either quit or you continue to go. There are so many like stories that or experiences that people have gone through, and like those need to be remembered. Like that's all history it is like remembering those times. And you get like this kind of glossed over description of wildland firefighters, and everyone's a hero and they're jumping out of planes and they're going and digging and attacking, and like that's not all wildland firefighting. Like that's a cool, sexy part of it, but 90% of it is climbing up a hill and sticking your hands in hot holes for like 9 days straight.
It's funny, that's like a shared relatable thing, because we'll be mopping up a piece of line or something, you'll just hear someone shout and you don't even know what they're shouting about, but you're just like, oh, find something hot.
Yeah, exactly.
It's such a relatable thing that we all know what we're doing.
You asked me which was like my favorite one that I had written so far, and I think it was Outside Dogs. I have been describing Hotshots as junkyard dogs since I was a rookie. The ad site that we stay in is covered in fencing with barbed wire. We're put in a small box when we travel, all together like a kennel. And then when we need to work, our chain is jerked and we're, you know, thrown food. Hey, take this for the day. But I think that one was so fun because I got to really like describe how I saw the Hotshot crew. And I had a lot of like pictures from like last year from California of like the crew just kind of sitting around waiting for something to happen. And I don't know, it was just fun to write. That was like one of my favorite ones to write. I think the purpose goes into like, I think it's two parts. Primarily, I think a lot of it is for wildland firefighters, because a lot of the things that I try to write about are the experiences or an experience that is so similar to everybody else having that, like, I'm on top of a mountain, I'm with 5 of my best friends, and there is nothing in sight that looks like accomplishment or overcoming this obstacle, but we're still going after it. And like those moments where wildland firefighters can be like, yeah, I remember that shit, or I have a great story about that, which kind of like leads you into those teaching moments. And then I think secondarily, it's for the people that don't necessarily have that wildland firefighter, like my friends and family, that you want to like tell about, like, remember that one time? I want to be able for friends and family to like insert themselves in that situation and at least like feel it. Whatever it is that they feel, whether it's like sadness or joy or trauma or like whatever it is, because those stories are so a part of who I am as a person. And if you really want to understand me, then like, let me tell you the story about like when I thought I was going to like die.
It's cool that you still capture that stuff, because like I got into fire and I was like, oh, I'm going to experience all these things. I'm going to get all these awesome pictures and see all these things that nobody gets to see. And I'm going to bring it back and share it with my friends and family. But
yeah.
then I start snapping the photos and then I'm like, look at it, and then I look at my phone, and I look at what I just saw, and I was like, it doesn't do it justice.
Yeah.
So eventually, like, I'll admit it, I quit taking pictures, in videos, and capturing the moments because it never did justice. And I'd come back and try to explain the moment and try to share it with somebody, and they're just like, "That's cool," but they have no way of feeling it or experiencing it the way that we experience it. So I think it's really cool that you're where I quit. You're continuing to work with it. You found a way to capture it with images and words and bring it forward to share it with everybody and like capture that feeling and they can feel like they were there.
Nick's photos and reflections are one man's particular glimpse into this chaotic and some would say archaic world. I hope this interview with him has sparked a sense of curiosity about the images he captures while working with the Hotshot crew. You can find Nick on Instagram at bolingnp, and you can follow his project on the blog site substack.com by typing in bolingnp or 1 Foot in the Black.